Testing. Alright, sounds like we're back and my audio might be a little bit better. Bear with me, guys. I was trying to get a bunch of stuff going, and as luck would have it, I managed to start my recording schedule right in the middle of tornado weather. So, we're back, and I apologize for the muted microphone last time. Some technical glitches, bit of a learning curve, blah, blah, blah. We're going to kind of jump ahead and get going just so I can show you some of the mechanics for how Blades in the Dark handles things. Once again, I've got some quick links here. I'm using Duskfall Street Maps by Old Dog Games. If we swap over here, eventually you'll see it. Okay. Street Maps, this is not a tactical game, but it's very atmospheric, and sometimes I like to have something for my players to look at, or they can investigate, or you can engage in the conversation. You can start talking, hey man, where in the district are we going to plan this out? Oh, you know what? I think we're going to do it right here at the rail station. Okay, well, if we're going to do the attack at the rail station, let's go ahead and go over here to Custom House Street and see what we can rouse up there and start using that as our local spot to stake it out. Okay, cool. Basically, anything that helps your players add to the story adds to your game. I'm really big on trying to give my players as much room to work with in this game as they can. One of the things that's very different compared to other role-playing games are the types of hard no's. Blades doesn't necessarily have a lot of hard no's. It has a lot of conversation, which is why I don't think solo play is the best way to play it, but it might be a good way to illustrate it. So we're going to start right now. And I'll use a bastardized version of Alone in the Dark, which is by Parts Per Million. Both of those are available on DriveThruRPG and I think itch.io. I think I put some links in my URL. If I didn't, I will get to it, I promise. So over here we have Trash. This is Trash's character sheet. I envision Trash as kind of a career criminal who gets his name because he's broke, he's down on his luck, and he carries a lot of random mismatched things. These things could range anywhere from old discarded police batons to repurposed muskets and stuff like that. I view him as a very thrifty, carries all his solutions in his pockets type of guy. So when we're looking at Trash here, I've got his stats all figured out. I've got his special ability. His special ability mainly involves gear. It just means he can carry more gear than usual. There's load limits for gear, light, medium, heavy. So we're going to play this pretty much by rote. I have some dice rollers and some random sheets to help kind of move this up. But this is a guy down on his luck, getting out of jail and immediately looking for work. So if we take the starting situation that's kind of the default, it's called Wars in Crowsfoot, which is where the ward boss that used to run Crowsfoot has been killed. Some people say it's a second in command who did it, and she's in charge of the crows. Now, when he died, two other enemy gangs that had peace brokered with him completely fell apart. The Lamp Blacks and the Red Sashes have started kicking up dirt, just scrambling to take the other one out. Old feud. The Lamp Blacks tend to be kind of the old leftovers of an old Lamplighters type of union turned gang. And the Red Sashes tend to have a reputation as rich kids peddling drugs and engaging in petty crime. Now, that's just a default. One of the cool things about Blades is you can engage in conversation, and it's part of the story. As a GM, I would ask you, hey, does Trash have any fellow interactions with these guys? Has Trash ever ran afoul of the Lamp Blacks or the Red Sashes, or maybe even the Crows? You know what? I think Trash doesn't get along with any of them. I bet you while he was in prison, he probably ran afoul of the crows a little bit. And I don't think that the red sashes and him, I think they rub each other the wrong way because he's kind of a broke, destitute pauper guy from a whose family comes from a faraway land, and they're drug peddling rich kids. So he doesn't have a lot with them. He might envy them a little bit, but they look down on him, and he doesn't get along with them. Um, this type of stuff helps everybody, come across. The opening scene, the GM. I'm going to read you what the GM would read the players for the opening scene. You're in the cramped office of the Lampblack's leader, Bozo Boz, overlooking the coal warehouse floor below. Several of his thugs hang about, armed for war, sizing you up. Bazo wants your answer. Are you with them or against them? What do you say? Will you side with the Lampblacks? Will you just pretend to? Will you tell them to fuck off? Are you actually here to kill them for the Red Sashes? So, you always open pretty much right into it. So, I feel like, this would be like the time, okay, so Trash. Trash comes in, he looks at Bozo, and Trash starts talking to Bozo, and you know what? Absolutely. He's there to take down the Red Sashes. He wants to cause as much trouble to those rich kids as he can, and if he can get himself ahead, let's go ahead and take it. So it would probably be something along the lines of, yeah, I want to go in and cause trouble for him. Okay, how would I do that? Well, normally I'd gather information, but since Bozo's right there, I want to hit up Bozo. I want to know, hey, what can you tell me about this? And the GM would go ahead and do a gather information roll for me. Now, again, this is not a game that lends itself, in my opinion. Its strongest point is not solo play. You can do it, and a lot of people have fun with it. But I think it's the conversation. I think it's back and forth. I think it's feeling the other guy out. I feel like Guy is coming at Bozo. Bozo's giving him a pretty straightforward deal. So I'm going to go ahead and assume that Bozo's going to tell him the truth, and Guy's not presumably too questioning about it. So I'm going to go ahead and make my gather information roll. And I'm lagged, because of course I am. Yoo-hoo! Wow. I don't know what's happening there. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and make my gather information roll. I've got a 6-sider. I rolled a 5. So for gathering information, blah, blah, blah. That would be a pretty good, while not a resounding success, it would be enough to get some information and to find out what's going on. So what I'm going to do is, the GM again would let the players know, oh, you want the information? You want to know where they're going? Okay, well, I'm going to tell you what's up. Right now, the Red Sashes are probably going ahead and gathering up as much cash as they can, and they're probably doing it at one of their drug houses or bookie houses. And Bozo wants me to prove my worth by stealing the fund and bringing it back to him. If I steal it, I get to keep 1 out of every 4 coins I bring back. Okay, sounds good to me. So now we're going to do do I want to get any more information? Well, what can you tell me about the place? I got a 5 on the gather information, so I probably have a good... You know what? It's got lookouts outside. It's got people out front. It's got everybody looking around, making sure that the streets are patrolled, and everybody has to have a red sash coming in. Okay, so Trash thinks about it, and I think that the best way for Trash is he's going to go in looking for trouble. I'm going to have him going with a max loadout. Now, I have some rivals and some friends. I could hit them up for help. I don't think I'm going to do that either way. I think Trash is desperate and he's a bull in a china shop. So I think he's going to go ahead and just go straight to the engagement. Um, what type of heist is this going to be? Well, I already know that they're loaded for bear. They know that the physical spot is, or at least Trash knows that their biggest manifestation is a physical protection. There's guards, they got cops paid off. It would be foolish to go after him that way. So, Trash's plan is to go in there, slip in with other customers, payroll people, everybody going in. His goal is to get as close as he can to the building and then just start kicking ass. Now, this is something that is a bit of a risk, to be sure. So we're going to go ahead and start looking at his prospects. This is called the engagement part of the fit. Now, if I wanted to do something more sneaky, like try to get disguises or spend coin I don't have currently to bribe people or whatever to give myself an opening, I could change what type of plan I was doing and I could change my methodology. This is where the heist shows, oh, we're going to go to the bank dressed like security guards and steal the armored truck out of the, motor pool and do the payroll. This is where that type of thinking comes in. Blades likes it very fast and very loose. In other games I play, you'll spend an hour talking about a plan. And Blades, couple minutes, man. Just hash out that detail. So we're going to do an assault. We're going to go right in through that front door because Trash is not a subtle guy. So now we're going to make an engagement roll. So my engagement roll, you start with one die because I'm going, everything is, we're going big. So that's one die. Is this a bold or daring plan? I think it kind of is. He's storming right up. He's going through the front door Moon Knight style. So I think that's an additional die. Now, does the plan detail and expose a vulnerability of the target or hit them where they're weak? No. On the contrary, it hits them where they're strongest. So we go from the 2 die back down to 1 die. And by the way, none of these are secret rolls. So I'm not giving up the game telling you, the player as a GM, how this all works. At all times, you guys should all kind of have an idea of what exactly you're looking at. There's not, to my knowledge, in straight Blades in the Dark, there's not a lot of secret rolls. Can any of my friends or contacts provide aid or insight? Well, I didn't hit them up. Are there any other elements I want to consider? Nah, not for this. It's probably pretty straight. So we're going to roll a 6-sider and see if it's still not giving me my die roll. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and make my roll. I get 1 6-sided die for my engagement roll. And I got a 6. Okay. 6 means that I got a success and that his walk up to the front door, it probably got him past the first a controlled position. That means that I got up to the door or so before anybody noticed me. So the lookouts didn't spot me starting trouble, and then what would happen is I would probably listen for the storyteller to describe the area. Okay, you know what? This is a rundown brick building that looks like it's seen better days. It's probably been repaired and cobbled together out of old structures, nonstop, and everything's been gathered from local areas. There's probably a little impromptu gatehouse with old carts near the front door to keep people from charging, with carriages or vehicles to get close to the door. There's probably a pair of guards near that door, keeping an eye on people. And with my success, Trash probably got up pretty close. So the first thing I'm going to do with Trash is deciding that he's going to go. You know what? Hold on 1 second. Let me see if my modules are all. Yeah, my module. Oh, you know what? That's right. We just had an update to Foundry. So that might be why my dice aren't activating. But all right. So he's immediately going to go ahead. I'm in a controlled position. That means I'm starting feeling like the guy. In a movie or cinematic sense, Trash is swaggering up there, obviously packed up with stuff, acting like he belongs. And then, right as he gets near those guys, he wants to go ahead and try to bash his way through, just take out both guys at once. My thought is he's going to pull out that large weapon of his. It's probably some sort of like spade or shovel. So I would go ahead and subtract 2. I was going heavy load. It's not updating. That's really weird. But because of Mule, I can have up to 8 load. Now, your gear is basically I happened to pack exactly what I needed to pack when I needed it. So like all this stuff here is choices of stuff that I retroactively decided I had. Like I guess the easiest way to explain this type of loot list is Batman's utility belt only has so many spaces on it, but he always seems to pack exactly what he needs at any given time for exactly what he needed. That's how Blades represents it with this loot list. So that belt might only use 2 or 3 things in a story, like his batarang or smoke bomb or grappling hook. That would be 3 items here in his thing, and anything else was he happened to plan ahead. And Batman's always planning ahead, so that always seems to work out for him. Now, I kind of wish this thing would cooperate so I could show you guys how we do a roll, but yeah, it's not. That's odd as heck. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to roll it. I have a controlled position because I scored well on my engagement. So now I'm going to roll skirmish. It would be control standard. I'm going to roll 2 dice because I have 2 dots in skirmish. I'm using my large weapon. That's great effect. I would have a conversation. The GM would probably tell me that controlled great is probably enough to incapacitate one of the guys, but I want to get 2. So I'm going to go ahead and push for effect, and I'm going to take that controlled position and go to risky. You know, just to make sure. The idea is I want to take my spade and I want to hit both the guards at the door, and I want to make sure they go down hard right there. So I'm going to roll the 2 dice. I got a 1, which is a failure on 1 die, and a 5. A 5 is a mixed result, which means that some sort of complication or harm occurs. So what I think happens, and like the GM's going to tell me, like, okay, so you swing and you hit a guy and you hit the first guy, but as you hit that first guy, maybe the second guy pulls out his knife and stabs me and just slashes me right across the torso, because it's enough to take some harm. So what I'm going to do is I could either roll to resist harm and put it on my stress, or I could take off my armor. I'm going to use 2 more dots of armor. I'm using Mule I'm in a heavy load, so I'm going to go ahead and burn off 2 more points of armor. So the idea is the guy stabs me in the ribs, but as he stabs Trash in the ribs, that knife catches on that armor plating. It's maybe some sort of boilerplate or something that he scavenged up, and the knife doesn't penetrate. Now, you'll notice that as the GM, I didn't roll an attack roll or whatever. NPCs and the situations like this, they don't progress because of dice rolls. So we're not taking turns like player does a thing and then GM does a thing, or GM's character won initiative and all of the guards go before the players do. It's a collective narrative. So Guy is now standing right there with that large weapon in hand, and in a risky position as that as the guy as the other guard is standing there, right there in front of the way. Now, at this point, maybe one of the lookouts spots him. I'm going to go ahead and make a fortune roll. Fortune roll's kind of a d6 coin flip. On a 1 to 3, I think the lookout spots him, and we'll start a clock called reinforcements arrive. On a 4 through 6, the lookout hasn't had time. On a 4 or 5, the lookout thinks something's up and he'll come investigate himself. And on a 6, Guy got away with it. Okay, it's a 5. So the lookout starts coming down to see what's up. Now, Guy's a thug, so I think what he's going to do is he's going to attempt to push his way past the guard at the door and try to push further into the building. He doesn't want to engage with all these guys. He needs to get in there and get the money. He needs to get the goods. So he's going to how's he getting in? I think he's going to use wreck. I think the idea is he's just charging in to shove his way past the guy or past the guard at the door and get his way into the building. So he's got wreck, and wreck is 1 die. Now, I'm already in risky position because of my partial success before. So now I'm at risky. I'm no more controlled. I'm going to spend 2 stress to push. It's not letting me update any of this. I don't know what's up with that. Alright, so we're going to spend 2 stress to push. You only get a finite amount of stress per instance. If that meter fills all the way up, he's out of action. It's hit points, it's stamina, it's action points, it's everything. So, we're going to go ahead and roll wreck. Wreck, I'm going to go ahead and we got the 2 dice. We're just going to roll. Double ones. Double 1 is fail, fumble, bad result. Blades doesn't officially, I think, have fumbles, but narratively speaking, every player I know goes right into it. It's a failure. Something bad happens. I think that guy at the door, the guard with the knife, realized the guy was trying to push through, and I think he blocked him at the last moment and probably took that knife and stuck him right in the side where the armor wouldn't necessarily go. So, or you know what? Let's not do the same spot again. Maybe the guy or the guard takes the blade and stabs it into the back of Trash's leg. So now Trash, and we're going to get rid of the name Guy here, and we're just going to go Trash. That way I don't confuse you with a bunch of, everybody's dude. But, alright, so Trash is sitting here, and he's got the potential for a serious wound. Now, I've already taken 2 stress, which you can't see because of whatever's going on with my... So I'm going to go ahead and put 2 stress in my chat window so we can keep an eye on it. And now I'm going to resist damage. Now I could use some more slots, but he's got a long road ahead, and I don't want him to use up all of his tricks on resisting damage, because he's going to need some gear to get out of here. So, to resist against serious harm, we're going to do prowess, because it's a physical attack, and he gets to roll. Is that right? Oh, that's one extra dot. We're going to take one off, and there we go. Now we're going to roll prowess, but it's not popping up. Okay. So to resist damage, we are going. He's going to take 6 stress minus his most advantageous dice roll. So far it's a 6. Okay. So I resist that. Trash doesn't, so instead of taking a serious harm, slashed, or, impaled leg or something like, or maybe even the blade coming all the way down through his boot and impaling him to the floor, maybe he just takes a limp. We're going to go ahead and put a level 2. He got all set. We're going to make it a level 1. We're going to call it gashed leg. So that affects his physicality. If he tries to do something like jump out of a roof or whatever, that gashed leg's going to come into play, or a kick, or even trying to defuse a bomb or whatever. That gashed leg might be a distraction to him. So now's the time for Trash to come back at it. And I think what Trash does is Trash tries to grab the guy, and I think he's trying to throw the guy into the building and use him to clear the way. Now, I'm going to take a devil's bargain, and that devil's bargain is usually something where the players, and this is all the players at the table, or the GM, will throw you an idea of, I'll give you an extra die for something, but there's another consequence. If you're sneaking around on a roof, maybe your pistol dropped and you didn't realize it and you lost your pistol for the rest of the score. Or trying to pick that lock, maybe your lock picks break regardless of the success or not, so you're stuck with it. Trying to assassinate someone quietly, maybe you're covered in blood and anyone that sees you will know that what you did. I think the devil's bargain for something like this will be attracting enough attention that a third party takes an interest in this score. Now, my player would get to think about that, and maybe other players would have something else. The idea is you don't necessarily know exactly how that might affect you, but you know what happens. A third party is going to get involved. Okay. I'll take it for the extra die. So now I'm going to roll 2 dice on rec. I'm at risky, standard. However, I have to go to limited because I have that injury. That injury reduces my effect. So less effect means I go from standard to limited. So risky, limited, you know what? I'm going to have to do something drastic. So I think he's going to go ahead and pull out his pistol. And remember, this is an action. This is all narrative and dramatic. I think he's going to pull out the pistol and shove it as close to the guy as the guard as he can, and beat him with it. Like it's not even, he's just using the pistol. The idea is maybe I can fire off a shot later with it or something. But he's using his pistol as the weapon and just kind of maniacally beating on the guy. Okay, so I got a 6. I got a success. Now, because of that, the guard goes down. Now, we know that there's still people gathering, but the devil's bargain I mentioned, we're going to call that rival gang. I think another gang was staking out this place, and they want the take. So what happens is, uh, we're going to put like a 6-part clock on there, and every time trash fails a roll, it's going to fill up that maybe the rival gang is just swooping in after trash starts and being opportunistic. So now Trash is in a position where he's really got to make something happen. He's got to get in there. He's got to get this. That lookout's coming. This rival gang's starting to move. I think he's going to take his Rage Essence vial, which is kind of like a berserker potion, and I think he chugs it. And the idea is to go in there and just trash all of them. So he gets inside because the two guards at the door are down, and the GM will tell us, okay, so you go inside and you see the area looks like some sort of counting house, but the tables are spread out, but instead of drugs or product or money laying around or whatever, it looks like there's some sort of gowns or clothing or something, kind of out of the ordinary. Something that, hey, maybe this isn't exactly what, or you know what? Maybe it's currently a bookie station and they're placing bets and they have bet markers and what. Now, Trash is a gambler. So Trash might even decide, hey, I want to look into this, or I want to see what's going on here. Nah, stick to the job, stick to the job. No, uh, okay, but he downed his rage vial, so he's got to go berserk. So I think his idea now is to drive everybody out as fast as he can and just try to scare and intimidate everyone. So I think what he does is I think he goes to the first table he sees, attempts to flip it, and just starts smashing the place up. If anybody gets close to him, they get it too. I don't think he's necessarily trying to destroy property. I think that's incidental. I think he's trying to command, particularly intimidate people. So we already know that it's desperate, standard, but it goes down to less effects. So desperate, limited, which would go back to standard because of his rage vial. And I think he's going to push 2 more stress for an extra roll. So let me go ahead and, or not an extra roll, an extra die. So he gets 2 dice to command, and we're going for desperate, standard. And he's bellowing out, leave or I'll kill ya, or leave or I'll get ya. Okay, a 6 and a 6 is a critical success, which means it happens, and it probably throws a little extra. Now, okay, you know what? We're going to hold off, and I'm going to broadcast this, and we'll move to the next piece as soon as I can figure out what's going on.